Booza is not just about scooping ice cream into a cup and eating it. There's also the theatrical aspect and creating that experience for the customer to see.
We do it at the start of the day, throughout the day, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't tough, but really every customer deserves and needs the full Booza experience.
Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow, and sometimes you have no idea what you're going to get. But ultimately, it all works out in the end. My name is Gilbert Elsmeda.
My name is Michael Sadler, and we make 500 pounds of Booza a day. We get in about 7 a.m. and first thing that we do out in front is get everything ready for service for the day. Booza is the original form of ice cream that was first developed about 500 years ago in the eastern part of the Mediterranean, and it's distinguished from other forms of ice cream by a soft, elastic-like consistency.
We have 17 flavors at any one time on rotation, and they're split out across classic, global, and experimental flavor categories. So that means there's a lot of stuff we need to do before the doors open for customers. A lot of work to be done, a lot of Booza to be made in a very short period of time. So once we receive the milk delivery, we normally take things straight into the back, and Booza starts with the base, and milk and cream obviously form a very large percentage of the product, followed after that by obviously sugar, everyone's favorite sweetener, and a little bit of skim milk powder because it helps with the mouthfeel of the actual end product. Using a specific type of milk and a specific type of cream means we don't have to use as much sugar just due to the natural sweetness that we get from the actual milk itself. Now we pasteurize because we think that's the best way to get a great product starting from scratch with pure ingredients. Once we start the pasteurization process, we normally take the product to about 155 degrees Fahrenheit and hold it there for 30 minutes. We then bring it back down to refrigeration temperature.
Booza is very similar to conventional forms of ice cream, but instead of using egg yolks or cornstarch, it uses two ancient, all-natural plant-based ingredients known as sahlab and mastic. Sahlab is a flour traditionally made from ground orchid root, and mastic is a resin that comes by sun-drying the sap of a tree in Greece. Together, the two ingredients contain the elastic potential holes that you see with the product.
Yesterday I started soaking some chufa nuts, and they will go into our horchata base along with a little bit of the sugar and cinnamon, and then we'll also be preparing some of the bark that we put into the peanut butter crunch, which is some lightly salted potato chips along with a blend of milk and white chocolate. We let that set, and then we chop that up into lots of little pieces that get thrown into the mix. I'll prepare some of the vanilla. So we're using the halala vanilla beans that come straight from Tonga. For about a 2-kilogram bucket, you're talking about $3,000, and that's what it costs, but adds a great floral note to the flavor of our vanilla. And now that the product's been prepared, it's time to actually churn it. So we use a freezer drum here that has refrigeration coils. What we do is we pour in the base into there and essentially splash the base onto the sides so it can actually freeze. We scrape it down the sides and reintegrate the frozen product into the non-frozen product. It is quite a labor-intensive process. Splashing it against the sides, it helps us get it to the right texture and consistency. It can just sit there and freeze overnight, but you end up with a hard rock. Once we've done scraping down the sides and Booza has reached a specific consistency, that's when we start to use the wooden pestle. When I'm doing this, it kind of feels like being part of an improv band. Everyone brings a different piece. The Booza's doing something, the pestle's doing something, I'm doing something, and we're all working in unison to ultimately come up with this amazing symphony of awesomeness and flavor. Because it's made by hand, it's impossible to predict the texture at any one point in time.
There's no fixed formula, and we like saying it's more of an art than a science because it has to be done by feel. So really getting it to that money stage where you can see that extremely elastic visual and get the full wingspan is the result of a constant back and forth balancing.
It's almost like sex. Sometimes it's fast, Sometimes it's slow, and sometimes you have no idea what you're going to get. But ultimately, it all works out in the end.
The first customer for the day sets the tone for the day. We're always thinking about how to improve the customer experience, more friendly, more accessible, to present our product in the best way possible. So everything that we've been thinking about for the last 24 hours first comes into play when that first customer comes in the door.
Get to taste as many flavors as possible, hopefully pick a flavor that works for them, or hopefully discover something new that they've never tried before. Booza is not just about scooping ice cream into a cup and eating it. There's also the theatrical aspect and creating that experience for the customer to see.
We love when we see excitement in customers' faces, return to that childhood level or state of excitement at going to the ice cream shop.
Ice cream is nostalgic for many people around the world. There's a lot of happy memories around that, and I think happy memories give us a great opportunity to have classic flavors to help people kind of step in the door and know the familiar, but also have other things like global and experimental, things that they've never tried and weren't really aware you could actually put into something like Booza and actually deliver an amazing product.
Towards the end of the afternoon, we see a lull in foot traffic and in customers. Today's an R&D day, so we're going to find some new things to play around with.
Experimenting is a huge thing for us that we do. Today, Mike and I are planning to go visit a local supermarket and seeing how we can integrate that into one of our newest flavors. And then definitely, blood oranges and everything. A bit more on the red side.
Here we go. Definitely make sure we get the whole one.
Try and focus on some seasonal ingredients. Today we're thinking of introducing a new sorbet flavor and bring together a few ingredients and see if they work together. We're going to take a few different directions with what we try from a flavor combination perspective. Probably try something potentially with dairy, something without a little bit of dairy. Is it perfect every time? Probably not. Sometimes when you step out of your comfort zone though, you come up with something truly amazing. So things can sometimes get a little bit crazy. So as we're actually making Booza from scratch, the team are also serving customers and we're also interacting with customers and talking to them about the process. It's very interactive, but obviously, as you can imagine, it is quite intense.
Part of our daily routines consist of agitating the Booza manually in the display case. We do it at the start of the day, throughout the day, and even every time before we serve a customer and even a sample, you'll see staff sort of give it a light little swirl. Activates the elastic potential of the sahlab and the mastic and really make sure that every mouthful is superlatively smooth. And when it gets busy, it can become easy to lose focus, but really every customer deserves and needs the full Booza experience. And that focus on the quality of the product, the quality of the experience, it makes us feel a sense of accomplishment at having achieved our goal. Store closes at midnight. Usually we begin the cleanup and closing routine around 12:15, 12:30. We love ice cream, we love Booza, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't tough, manning the day-to-day, getting home at 1 a.m., sometimes later, but ultimately, feeling like I'm a part of building something. Republic of Booza is centered around bringing people together and introducing them to all sorts of new flavors and tastes, and it gives me that extra kick to keep going every day.
Today, we made 500 pounds of Booza.
And tomorrow, we're going to do it all over again.